Okay, I'm going to make this my last tape. I'm not going to post any more audios up on the group or anything like that. You guys have heard enough of me. Now, basically, just like somebody else 2,000 years ago, he basically left. Okay? I've talked, and I've talked, and I've tried to help in every which way I can. Now I need to basically go and complete helping myself. Okay? You may think that that is the wrong thing, but it's not the wrong thing. There's only one way that you guys are going to get off the fence, and that is for me to stop giving you anything and say, it's done. Well, it is done. The last documents I submitted into the court are right. The only thing that was lacking was that we had to give a body or a form to the name only judges, U.S. attorneys, clerk of the court. See, they're operating under the protection of just having a name only. So that is the fiction that basically is making the rulings and everything else. That's what gives them their protection. You have to take their protection away from them under color of law, and you have to expose them to reality. Okay? And that is by going and doing a Form 56 against them, turning, and this is an assignment. You are assigning this document, this Form 56, to them to supply a body to that name. So now, and this is also called a fiduciary form. Well, if you go into the Bible and try and find out a corresponding scenario of what a fiduciary is, you will basically should come up with the understanding that I have, that that is the Levites that were called out in the Bible, the ones that can go into the temple and basically take your offerings and clean them up and cut away all the usury, the fat, and basically out of the system and give you your property back. That's what the Levites for the temple did. That's what we're demanding out of these courts now, to come out of the system. They are basically the Levites of old. You look up what fiduciary means in the dictionary. Fide, F-I-D, stands for something that is basically used to untangle an item. And then U-C-E, basically the U was not there initially. It was converted in at a later date and then brought into prominence in the 1700s by England. It used to be a V in the process, and it was the usage of that tool to do something as an area. Okay? So it was an unbinding action of what was taking place. That's what the Levites would do. So we have to do this to a fiduciary against a Form 56 assignment, and now they become not as the fiduciary, they are an assignee. We have assigned a task to them. We're the masters, we're the lords of America, not the government. They are public servants. Okay? But we have to give them the tools that the servants can utilize. So that is one of the tools that we now use, the Form 56, to place a body to their name. Now, if they do not comply, they are exposed into the system of being a living entity. Now, we put them under the black and white laws, not the color of law any longer. There are protections that they've been hiding behind. You can find a judicial complaint information out there, and you can file those. If they do not comply, you can also file criminal charges against them once you've done your Form 56. They do not want that. That's what has scared quite a few people. People have done Form 56s in the past, but they didn't have the other side of the ledger, proper understanding of how the certificates, government certificates, licenses, and everything else were basically an insurance policy that you needed to go in and cash in to make a settlement. Same thing with utility companies. Your taxes. Basically, we had to turn around and do a Form 56 against them so that now they could basically utilize the stuff and then return our assets to us, our rents that are owed. So like I said, everything that has been submitted in to that court was right on. Now, one other tidbit is that you're going to have to do a Form 56 also against the Vicar General and the Bishop of your diocese. Why? Well, because coming out of the Civil War, the Church of Rome was a creditor to the United States Corporation that basically borrowed money to fight the Civil War, both from the North and the South, especially after they killed Lincoln off in the North. And then basically the corporation, United States, was borrowing against them, and they came about in the late 1800s there to be a full-fledged creditor, hidden away, and they had a right of a leasing right of 21 years against the Treasury of the United States of America. Then, basically that carried over. We went into Spanish-American War and fighting all these things, and we kept borrowing from them. World War I, kept borrowing from them. So basically that lease was an ongoing lease against the U.S. Treasury. Now along comes 1930. Well, that lease carried over when they set up the independent treasury accounts and gave every shareholder, every person born in this country that was registered as a shareholder, an independent treasury account, because they were a body and state of land. And they had a treasury attached to that land, that state of land that we had at our birthing. Now there again, that was only supposed to be a lease against some of the assets that were held in that treasury account for 21 years. So you have to get the bishop and the vicar general to release those leases against your account also. There again, you're using the Form 56, and I would submit a copy of all the Form 56s you do. You submit out there, even if you don't have their signature on it yet, you submit a copy of those into your court record. Now you have documented basically that you have submitted those items out to those other individuals in a record of court. you should be able to go forward and process the rest of the system. The only drawback here is you have to know how real monetary system in this country works. It's not all about gold and silver. It's about commodities that came out of America. You can hold commodities in a lot of different forms. You don't need to be holding it in gold and silver. Okay? In fact, you're better off not to put all your eggs in one basket, as the old saying goes. And you can always cash in some of your commodities for a useful means of exchangement. And you would go through the exchanging process. And I'm not going to go into detail. You ought to be able to figure that one out, of where you would possibly need to go. Because if you get to this point of getting out of the court, you should see now you would be able to go to the Treasury and with your fiduciary forms, Form 56s, and have a commodity broker process your assets into lawful exchangement. Okay, so I'm done. It's been a joy, I guess you might say. Sometimes very frustrating, but I'm done talking. So, like I said, this is my last tape, and I'm going to be basically dropping completely out of the system when my stuff hits my door. So, it's all up there for you guys now to run with, and if you don't, it's your loss, not mine. I've done my job of exposing it and then putting it out there to you. So, have a good life. Take care.